and everybody for our last session. And I'm particularly pleased to welcome and say good afternoon, Khan. Really good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good afternoon, Andy. How are you doing?
I'm really well, thank you. Really well. It's been a really exciting morning. I'm feeling a little drained now because I've been QAing and chairing for 4 hours now. But we've had a brilliant session, and I know you're going to finishing it off with a real highlight for everybody. Khan, everybody founded the Mulgrove Street Action Group at just 14 years old. You are making me feel old now. And in essence, that was identifying an area in his local area in Liverpool that was run down, and he brought the community together, he brought partners together, and he turned out in a fantastic community garden. And I think, that the power of wanting to make a difference, bringing people together, and turning a community into a space that people can be proud of, and all the wider knock-on effects around sense of well-being, community cohesion, and looking after our places. I think this is a fantastic case study, and Khan's work's been recognised by the Prime Minister, the High Sheriff of Merseyside, and many others, quite rightly so. Khan, thank you for joining us, and over to you.
Thank you, Andy. I'll take the floor. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Odita. I'm the founder of Mulgrave Street Action Group Community Interest Company, as Andy mentioned, and I'm here today to talk to you about my work in tackling ASB in Toxteth, Liverpool. So many of you likely don't know where Toxteth is and what it's like there, so I'll give you some insight. Toxteth today is the multicultural heart of the city of Liverpool. Far from being a stagnant neighbourhood, it's very much a bustling area. There's lots to do, loads of places to eat, and lots of people to talk to. However, it's also high on the indices of deprivation, as you can see some stats here. And in that regard, it's among one of the worst areas of the city of Liverpool. So I'm sure then you can appreciate that Toxteth has some issues with antisocial behaviour. And the area's struggle with ASB and distrust of authorities runs deep, because it was a key player in the 1981 riots alongside Brixton, which of course was triggered by economic isolation, deprivation, and other factors. The ripple effect of that event is still felt in some regards today, which is manifesting as further deprivation and further antisocial behaviour. So in summer of 2021, I was about to go into year 10 of secondary school. And at the time, I realised that I wanted to know my community better, and I didn't really know my neighbours very well. So after doing some searching without avail for some sort of group to join or a network to get connected to, I just endeavoured to establish my own. And I figured a good thing to start would be just going door knocking and trying to form a residents association with all the people that also lived in housing association properties, just like me. And coming up with a name for this association, I came up with Mulgrave Street Action Group. And then one summer afternoon, I was out there with my mum and my nan, knocking on neighbours' doors, trying to get their contact details to form this group. And as I was out there, something dawned on me. I realized that these streets are just filthy. People are just dumping outside of their homes what they don't want or need anymore. And then when I took some paces down the road, I realized that the green space on the street, which was this sort of triangle of grass, was just also being used to dump. And people had thrown all kinds like fridges and couches and mattresses. And that really made me feel some sort of way. I wanted to solve the issue. And the first idea that I came up with was to use the green space for something productive, because that, in my mind, would break the cycle and provide a good use for the community. And that ended up being a community garden as a concept. So then the next day, I opened Photoshop and I began to edit together a design of what the space could be. You can see here some of the issues that we were dealing with as a community, and of course some people were contributing to. And my design was essentially to use the space for something that would be more beneficial than a fly tip, with seating and railings and of course flowers that would, sort of add value to the area. So you can see this is the plot that, that's what it looked like up until around March last year. And then this is the first design that I came up with. So you can see there some seating, just very simple flowers and planters. But that would make a huge difference, I thought, to the local area. So sitting there with this design, I then had all of this inspiration and this drive to go and do something, because I believed in the project, but then I needed to convince other people. And obviously my neighbors, they were very skeptical. But my first supporter was my mum. And that was very empowering. But then the next big step for me was then reaching out to my local councillor, who then decided on camera to pledge support to the project and be there as a support and a bit of a guide as well. And of course that was just spurred me on, that expression of support, and made me think, what, I'm doing the right thing here, and I'm going to continue. So following this, I decided I'd establish Mulgrave Street Action Group as a community interest company, which would open the doors then to funding. And with my first chunk of funding, which was a few £100s, I decided to organise the first ever community cleanup day. So I had a skip and I bought some tools, and I just decided to, again, go door knocking and reach out to the neighbours who had contacted. And I explained, like, listen, today, for free, you can dump your whatever you need to get rid of in this skip. And I'm not pointing any fingers or passing any blame, but here it's there to use. And to my surprise, that worked. So people started leaving their homes, filling it up. But not only were they looking after their own property, but then they were just picking up things that they saw on the street and filling it up in the skip as well, which was brilliant. And then within the span of like an hour, all of a sudden, the green space was getting cleared, the skip was getting piled high. And then a police van turned up, surprisingly, and even they decided to get involved. You can see the inspector there ferrying a huge mass of twigs and bin bags and all kinds. And you can see there the skip is far beyond the fill line. But it was really a necessary thing and a brilliant first initiative. So the police on that day were very visible and helpful, and that really made us feel quite empowered, and as if it was a big community project. We were all in it together, making our home a better place. So that went very smoothly. And so these cleanup days continued throughout the ensuing months, with varying success and a steady rise and awareness of the garden campaign, and of course a steady increase in volunteers. But this strategy of cleaning up people's mess, it was turning out to be less preventative and more of a cure, because the fly tipping continued, despite there being a slight culture shift on the street. So, in October 2022, I came up with the idea of flood the streets with flowers, which would bring several flower planters and many hundreds of bulbs to the streets of Toxteth and its respective green spaces. And you can see here our little team assembly photo there, supported by Rachel Moorcroft and her associate as well from the Merseyside Police. And they actually came down after I spoke to Dave Uren, who was the local inspector. I contacted him over social media, and he sent down some of his team. So that was just incredible. And you can see here as well some of the results of Flood the Streets with Flowers and some of the hard work that we were all doing. The police ladies, they were helping ferry these really heavy planters up and down the street, and the planters were made out of pallets as well. So I don't know if anybody's moved the pallet, but one pallet is more than enough weight. So yeah, they were really a great help. And once again, a brilliant community initiative supported by volunteers, neighbours, and the Merseyside Police. So that was delivered successfully. And in the following weeks, we saw, a big reduction in fly tipping and even litter, because it seemed like these bright flowers were acting as a positive deterrent against fly tipping and those who wish to do so. So my campaign to establish the garden continued, And I searched for funding and delivered several community consultations, both online and in person. You can see me there on the top right, a bit younger than I am now, during one of the community consultations. And some of the results on the bottom left there, what people wanted to see, like gardening advice and plants and growing areas and such, and also activities for young people. And this was the sort of middle design, the second design iteration that we had came up with, and I designed myself as well as a result of the consultations. Now, really, the first break in the project was meeting the Metro Mayor, Steve Rotherham, who actually came down to the plot to speak to me after I won the 2022 LCR Award Student Inspiration Award, bit of a mouthful. And he wasn't present at the award, so he decided he'd go and visit the winners, and I invited him down to see the plot and essentially to pitch my idea to him of this community garden. And he was really interested in the project and decided he would, pledge support in whatever way he could. Now, I wouldn't imagine for one moment that that support would come in the form of £30,000. So I applied to the Community Environment Fund, and we were among the winning projects. So I must say, without his, belief in me as a young person and belief in this prospect of tackling the antisocial behaviour, this project wouldn't have went any further. So I must give my thanks to him for taking me seriously. And simultaneously, as all of this public activity was going on, getting funding and delivering small activities, lots of background work was going on between my CIC and the council. I actually cold approached the leader of the council via email to ask for his support, and he was really interested in the project and pushed me on to further departments. So we had good communication between my CIC and the council for some months, including the planning department, which essentially allowed us to get a lease for the plot, which was and still is owned by the council. So that was brilliant. And more than publicly, but also in the background, we were also trying to source some sort of contractor to deliver the garden, whether it be a builder or a landscape gardener. You can see 5 silhouettes there. That represents the 5 individuals and technically 5 businesses that passed us up over the course of several months. So that was several months of wasting our time, resource, and false promises. And that really left us in a difficult situation where we had the money, we had the public support and backing, but we didn't have a contractor. So I said, I'll build it myself. Not with my bare hands, but I would subcontract and find the people to deliver each part of the project. So by mid-March, the Harris fencing, the temporary fencing, was up around the plot. You can see an image there and a little signage telling people about the project that's about to become reality. Then you can see here, from late March to early April, all of the groundwork. So that was flattening the land. We had diggers in, removing all of the soil, people having to come in and dig up and lay the floor, which was a resin bound flooring, and then obviously panel the back fence and lay the permanent railings as well. So then by April 5th, the garden was ready to be planted up, and the whole community came out in force to deliver this project, which is just an incredible sight. You can also see there on the left some of the team from the Merseyside Fire Brigade who actually saw the activities over social media, and on their own their own impetus, they decided to send down some of their team, which was just brilliant too. So yeah, April 5th, the planting day went superb. And then the following day was the launch day of the community garden, which I named Urbanscape. You can see me unveiling the name there. That was attended by dignitaries such as the Metro Mayor, the Lord Mayor, my MP, and all the supporters and community members as well. So that was just surreal, honestly, to see that a reality. And more good things were yet to come. You can see here, this was the garden in the aftermath of the launch event. And then following that, only about a week later, I was contacted by the Prime Minister's office who wanted to present me with an award for my work, which is incredible. So yeah, the Minister for Civil Societies there attended Urbanscape and handed over the award. And this award was actually shortly followed by a letter from the Prime Minister too, in which he congratulated me, which was, I mean, just incredible, you know, to see the address Downing Street and to be spoken to by the Prime Minister himself. However, not everything was so positive following the launch of Urbanscape. You can see here the garden was rocked by thefts. One lone man who had been coming in the night and stealing all of the shrubs and newly planted plants, which was really, I mean, words can't illustrate how I felt at the time and how devastating that was. You can see me there making a public appeal over socials, and the police also opened their investigation. However, the community was very strong in the face of this, and the event really served as a catalyst for, you know, greater acceptance and an inseparable bond between the community and the garden, because everyone now felt that they were, you know, invested in the space. And as such, people began searching, and there was a sort of, you know, regional manhunt for this person. And following the initial thefts, we decided we'd fundraise and install a camera, and we managed to catch the thief. And that was it. He was blown sky high across social media. People were then searching for him, plastering his face everywhere on cars, all across Twitter and Facebook. And the news picked it up as well. And that allowed us to ultimately catch him. And then, following, you know, that bit of a downer, I decided I'll pick up the project again and organize a big replant supported by B&Q and donations and further funding as well, which really, as you can see the image on the left, the garden was now beautiful, more colorful than ever and more lush as well, which was, you know, I always like to look positively on issues. And this was certainly one of those situations where perseverance really was a lot better than getting, you know, too beaten down. As a result of all of the commotion as well, Crime Watch Live from the BBC actually picked up the project, and as you can see there's me on Crime Watch. They made a whole documentary and a live interview as well. They interviewed me, which was you know, amazing. That was then followed shortly after by a visit to Downing Street, where I actually met the Prime Minister himself in December of 2023, which was superb. And then I actually won 2 awards at the National Crime Beat Awards, supported by my local policing team who nominated me, which was, I mean, just a brilliant way to sort of wrap up the initial work of the project. And then even more media, Alan Titchmarsh's Gardening Club picked up the project, which is funny because I'm not even a gardener myself, but there I was, and the community as well, plastered on the TV show, which was incredible. So at the end of my whole story and my work in establishing and building Urbanscape, I have a few closing points that I hope you can walk away with and implement in your own antisocial behavior tackling. So point 1 is to eradicate ASB. The community must be invested in a project and have a strong sense of unity. That's definitely what I found, and that's what helped the project survive and, you know, persevere in the face of harm and adversity. Point 2, involving the community from the beginning is vital, unless you want the project to fall apart. And when people are involved from the beginning and they can see it naturally growing and forming, they feel, you know, more engaged. Now 3, active engagement with the community by groups like the police, I believe, is essential in building trust and appreciation for public services, and also in reducing antisocial behaviour. Merseyside Police were very visible. They went above and beyond as well. But I think that should be the standard across the country between public bodies and engagement with the community. Point 4, taking young people and all people's views and thoughts and ideas seriously is important in coming up with innovative ways of tackling ASB, the same way the Metro Mayor believed in me and took me seriously. 5, prevention is always better than cure. Okay, you know, so the council, they were turning up and removing the fly tipping. That was a cure, but the garden is prevention. That's more important. It breaks the cycle and stops excessive, you know, spending of resource without any end in sight. And point 6, what is best suited for the community comes from the community. That's something to bear in mind, regardless of any project, be it ASB or anything else where you're trying to better a community. That's what I've learned anyway. So yeah, thank you for listening. If you have any questions, that'd be brilliant. I'm open to hear them.
Khan, thank you so much. Absolutely superb. What an inspirational way kind of to draw to a conclusion today. You said you were pleased to get the support of the mayor and surprised to get the recognition of the Prime Minister. Well, I know we don't know each other, but that was because of what you did and the passion you showed. So that's why you got the support and the recognition. So incredibly well done. That's a brilliant place to, I think, draw to a close today. And I think shows the power of individuals, you and people on this call. If you want to make a difference, draw the community together, make something happen and make the difference. And I think that's a fundamentally powerful thing. So absolutely superb. Well done. And I wonder what's next, but I suspect we will hear about it in lots of places, or whatever comes next for you. So everybody online, I know you'll all be sharing that thought of kind of appreciation of what Khan's done. And I guess in closing down for today, completely, just to say thank you to all of you. What you do makes a difference. We've heard today from ministers, we've heard from police and crime commissioners, from inspectorates and community groups about the importance of working together, being in a place, understanding people and making a difference. So my thanks to all of you. Khan, a brilliant conclusion. Thanks to the events team, and we'll hold it there. Have a brilliant rest of the day, everybody. Thank you. Thanks, Khan. Well done.